Beginning on your back, laying everything out long, palms turning to face the ceiling. Allow yourself to surrender to the floor. Noticing how it feels in your body right now. Noticing physical sensations, muscles and bones, ligaments and tendons. How is it you're meeting the ground? Start to notice your emotional body. Where are you feeling your emotions? Your belly, your head, your chest, your muscles. How are you feeling your feelings? And finally, your mental body. How are your thoughts flowing? Does it feel like they're flowing easily? Are you rushing around, spiraling, or obsessing on a single thought? Maybe even finding stillness, noticing how it feels to be inside of your skin, meeting the ground. Starting to deepen the breath cycle, we'll start to expand the belly, use the ribs, and then the chest all the way up to the top of the inhale. Exhaling in reverse, chest, ribs, and belly. Squeezing everything out on the exhale, creating space for full, complete inhales. Notice if these breath cycles start to make you feel sleepy or tired. Push through that, creating both the strength in the diaphragm to breathe against impingements and restrictions in the poses, as well as the muscle memory to take these full breath cycles off the mat, back into our daily lives. A couple more breath cycles like this. And we'll bend our knees, bringing the feet up close to the buttocks. Lifting the head and neck, we're going to interlace the fingers behind the head. Lifting the shoulders up, gaze is to the belly or between the legs, not to the ceiling. Inhaling, we're going to start to pulse the pelvic floor down. So think about squeezing up and in as if you were trying to put on a pair of jeans that are too tight, or trying to stop the flow of urine midstream. You're sucking up and in, pulsing that lower belly. Now the upper body might move with this contraction, but we're not crunching the upper body up. The upper body might be moving just because of the strength of the lower body pulling up and in, but that's the only thing that's moving here. The lower belly is just pulsing up and in. We're going to pause, hold, and squeeze tight. Squeezing this up and in, holding here, continuing to breathe. Don't let your breath clench. And then come back to the pulsing. Pulsing that pelvic floor, squeezing it up, squeezing it in. Keep pulsing, keep breathing. Pause, hold it up, squeeze it tight as you can, a little tighter. Now lift the toes up off the mat. Inhale, step the heels out. Exhale, bring them in. Alternating, inhaling out, exhaling in. Now the low back stays pressed into the mat with this movement. If the low back is peeling up off the mat, this is a difficult movement for you, alternate. Step the feet out one at a time and then try to bring them in together. So we're stepping this in and out. Let's do two more. Next time the feet come back in, we'll release the head down to the mat. Bringing the knees into the chest, give yourself a hug here, reset. Maybe you sway this side to side. Maybe you circle the knees in one direction or another. Maybe you bring the knees closer on the exhales, letting them travel away from you on the inhales. Make this feel good to your hip flexors and low back. When you feel ready to come back into stillness, we're going to extend the left leg long to hover over the mat. Inhale, raise it up for some momentum. Exhale, use this to help rock and roll. All right, so we're rocking and rolling on the mat. If this is easy for you, you can extend the arms and just try to rock and roll, holding that foot in close to the buttock. If this is still easy for you, maybe you're trying to come up a little bit into a little baby pistol squat at the top. So you might be lifting your bottom up off of the ground for just a moment at the top of this rock and roll. Whatever version you're in, we're going to do two more. After the second one, we'll come back to our backs. Releasing the knees to the chest, catch your breath. Extend the right leg long to hover over the mat. Inhale, bring the leg up for some momentum. Exhale, rocking and rolling on the second side. Now, like I said, if this is easy, feel free to release the hands, making this be a little bit more work. Trying to keep that foot in towards the buttock as you come up. If that's still easy, maybe you pop this up to a little baby pistol squat at the top, finding the place that feels like a little bit of a challenge. Let's do 2 more wherever you are. After the second one, bring your knees into your chest, reset. Crossing the ankles, we're going to pull this up to seated. And then we're going to roll over our knees into tabletop, walking this back into a plank pose. All right, so we're going to step back into a plank. The hands are underneath the shoulders, fingers spread wide, middle fingers point to the top of the mat. Belly is firm, gaze to the top of the mat, chin is away from the chest. We're going to inhale, start to walk the feet in baby steps up towards the top of the mat. When you get them there, walk them back out into a plank. Now, if you started with the right foot, maybe the second time up, you start with the left foot. Maybe you alternate what foot starts those baby steps up and back. Now, you're going to notice that your butt's going to try to come up high in the air, like this is a down dog. Try to keep that butt low. Feel this as core work as well as hips. You know, you're trying to get those knees and chest pretty close up together as you walk this up and back. So you're going to feel some tightness in the hips and some compression in the abs. Let's do 1 more up and back. The next time you bring your feet to the back of the mat, we'll settle back there in a plank pose. Wiggling out, find your shape, and then we'll drop the knees and flatten the feet. That was a minute-long plank. We're going to come down to our bellies, lowering yourself down. We're going to take the forehead to the backs of the hands. Taking the legs wide off the mat, so get the feet wide. Bend the knees and bring the feet together. Inhaling to prepare, exhale, lift the knees and thighs off the mat. Inhale, releasing, and exhale, lifting. It is okay if the thighs don't really lift. It is okay if you're just barely getting the knees up, the thigh bones are lifting, and none of the flesh underneath the bones are coming with it. That is all right. We are contracting in the buttocks and the low back. You might feel the pubic bone press down into the mat when you do these. We'll do 3 more. After the third one, inhale, exhale, step the knees together. Inhale, exhale, step the knees wide. So now we're using those exhales to alternate stepping the knees wide and together. Again, it is okay if those knees are dragging more than they're lifting. We are where we are. We're just trying to strengthen those buttocks and low back. Let's do 2 more, ending with the knees back in together. When you get them there, inhale, lift this up, and then exhale, squeezing, pulsing, lifting this up. Inhale, pause, release the legs out wide, staying lifted through the thighs, and then tap the heels in together like you're Dorothy. There's no place like home. Squeezing those buttocks as you tap, tap, tap those heels. Pause, release the legs down. Plant the hands underneath the shoulders. We're going to push back to child's pose. As you find that child's pose shape, catching your breath, softening your face here. Notice the sensation of the hips, the buttocks, the legs, the low back. When we find this pose again during the middle of class, this might feel different. Notice how this feels right now. Seat to feet, forehead to the mat. When you're ready, we're going to inhale up into tabletop. Taking a C curve in the spine first, bring the right shoulder to the right hip. Get a long stretch on that left side. And then we'll inhale, center, exhale, left shoulder to left hip, stretching that right side. Coming back into center when you're ready. Inhale, drop the belly, gaze comes up, cow. Exhale, gaze between the thighs, cat. Moving with your breath cycle, inhaling cow and exhaling cat. Get a little deeper each time. Can you feel the stretch into the throat and belly when you look up in your cow? Sending the belly and spine together in cat up to the ceiling. Maybe you start to move this around in your hands and your knees, waking up your shoulders, your hips, maybe moving that arch around in the spine. In both cat and cow, make that feel good to you. Waking up your shoulders, your hips, your back,
When you feel like you're ready to come back into stillness, we'll walk the hands up on the mat, slightly finding our first downward facing dog. Maybe you measure out a brief plank pose on the way. Plank pose is the perfect downward facing dog spacing, so if you're ever wondering if your spacing is right, just come forward to a plank, make sure you've got that, and push it straight back. Gazing between the legs, inhale high into both toes, exhale, sink the right heel down. Inhaling into the toes, exhale, sink the left heel down. We'll do that again. Inhale high, exhale right heel. Inhaling toes, exhale left heel. And then one more time through with your breath cycle, alternating those heel presses. When you've done the left side, we'll inhale high into both toes, exhale both heels down to the mat. Maybe you're hyperextending through the shoulders slightly as you reach the crown of the head for the middle of the mat. Broaden the collarbones out, soften the face. Inhaling into the toes again, exhale, bend the knees and hover them over the mat. Feel the thighs catch fire. And then straighten the legs back into downward facing dog. How does this down dog feel now? Inhale, forward to plank. Exhale, pushing back, the left hand's going to find the right leg. Inhale, forward to plank. Exhale, pushing back, the right hand finds somewhere on the left leg. Alternating, inhale, hitting that true plank pose. Let the hips come forward. You'll feel the belly engage. Exhale, pushing back, alternating as the arms reach back for alternate legs. Now, it might start with just touching the thigh or the knee, but as your obliques warm up, you might start to reach down lower to the calf or the ankle. Notice if that's starting to get a little deeper for you. Again, just don't let this be a lazy down dog. Make sure you're feeling that core engage when the hips come forward. Let's do one more each side. So since we started with the left side, we're going to end with the right hand coming back to the mat after touching the left leg. Once you get that right hand back to the mat in downward facing dog, catch your breath, soften your face, turn the tailbone up to the sky. Gaze to the top of the mat. Walk the hands back to the feet, forward fold at the back of the mat. Noticing the sensations of this shape. Inhale, arms come up high overhead. Urdhva Hastasana, suck the shoulders into the sockets. Exhale, fold forward, Uttanasana. Halfway lift at the bottom. Exhale, fold it down. Dropping into the knees, bend the knees, let the chest and thighs connect. Reach the arms for the front of the room, half chair pose. Inhale, come up into the toes. Find your balance here. When you feel steady there, inhale up to chair on the toes. Again, finding your balance. And then we'll drop the heels. Inhale, stand it all the way up. Exhale, hands to the sides, mountain pose, shoulders down away from the ears. Palms face forward, catch your breath. Inhale, arms come up. Exhale, down into chair pose. Dropping the bottom, upper body reaches upright. You'll feel contraction in the low back here. Come up high into your toes. Find your balance. Releasing hands to the floor, find forward fold on your toes. Straighten your legs. And then slowly let the heels back down. Forward folding. Taking a hold of opposite elbows, gazes between the legs, not to the floor. Inhale into the balls of the feet. Exhale back to the heels. Inhale, rollers forward. Exhale, rolling back. And then one more time with your breath cycle. After you've regrounded through the four corners, if it feels good to you, maybe you sway this side to side in ragdoll. When you feel like you're ready to come back into stillness, releasing the elbows and noticing what that's done to your forward fold. Inhale, arms come up, right knee comes up, finding knee lift. Find your steadiness. And then we're going to take this to figure four chair, taking the right ankle to the left knee. Use your hands to get it there. Hands might find heart center as you bend into that left knee. Maybe the elbows can find the ankle and the knee. Chin is away from the chest, collarbones are broad, chest is lifted. Releasing this back to knee lift. We're going to take a big step forward into high lunge. Wiggle out if you need to. Bend into the front knee, arms come up, arms are nice and straight. You can take them out to ballet arms, or sorry, YMCA arms and bring them in. It's okay if you can see them. We don't want ballet arms. So keep those arms nice and straight. Bringing the hands to heart center when you're ready. Twisting, the elbow finds the thigh, the gaze goes over that right shoulder. Find your steadiness. Bringing the gaze to the top of the mat, drop the back knee, flatten the foot. Keep the groin shifting forward and take this back into your twist. Don't let the groin shift back here. We want to stay feeling that right hip flexor. We're going to carefully release this. Grab a block, be any setting you want. We put the block next to the hip. It can be it can be next to the hip. We don't want it forward of the hip. So taking it next to the hip, any level you want. The left arm comes over, press the right hand into the block to try to push you back to center. At the same time, you're leaning over, finding dynamic tension with that side stretch, laterally lengthening. Carefully release both hands to the top of the mat. Tuck the back toe, release the knee. We'll send the right leg high into three-legged down dog. Exhale, release the foot to the floor, downward facing dog. Pedal out, catch your breath. Turn the tailbone up to the sky. Unclench your jaw, soften your face. Maybe the corners of the mouth get pulled to a slight smile by gravity. Gaze to the top of the mat, walking your hands back to your feet, forward fold. Inhale, arms come up high, left knee lifts. Finding your steadiness here. Catch your balance, catch your breath. When you feel like you got it, we're going to set up figure four chair, taking that left ankle over the right knee. Maybe you take the hands to heart center and try to find the ankle and the knee with those elbows. Bottom is dropping down, right knee is bending, chest is lifted. I'm pulling my left toes back towards my shin. Carefully helping us back up to knee lift. We're going to find that big step forward, high lunge. When you feel like you've got it, wiggle out the feet if you need to. Get the arms up overhead, nice and tall. When you feel comfortable there, inhale to heart center, exhale, twisting left. Right elbow to thigh, pushing the torso upright into the back of the room. Can you take the gaze over that left shoulder? Gaze to the top of the mat, drop the back knee, flatten the foot, shift the groin to the front of the room, finding that twisted low lunge. Releasing your twist, we're going to find your block. Take the block next to the left hip with the hip shifting forward, so don't shift the hip back and place it back here. We want the hip shifted forward and the block next to the hip. When you have that, we'll take the hand to the block. The right arm comes over, you're pushing the left hand into the block and leaning over so you can get that deep dynamic tension side stretch. Breathing here. Carefully release this. Letting your hands come to the top of the mat, tuck the back toe, release the knees, send the left leg high into a three-legged down dog. We'll exhale here when you're ready into downward facing dog. Pedal out if you need to. Tailbone is turned up. Collarbones are broad. Face is soft. Inhale to plank. Lowering through Chaturanga. You can drop to your knees if you'd like. We're going to keep the elbows hugging into the rib cage all the way down. This is a Chaturanga push-up. It is a tricep push-up. Linger in the cobra or up dog as long as you need. Pinch those shoulder blades back. Bring the gaze up. Open the throat. Whether the legs are on the ground or they're hovering, when you've had enough back bend, we're going to tuck the toes, send the hips high, and downward facing dog. Lingering in the back bend as long as you need it. We're here for our back bend, so take that as long as you need. Collarbones are broad, face is soft, tailbone is turned up to the sky. Finding that down dog shape. When you're ready, we're going to inhale, right leg high, knees and toes are square, big toe turns in slightly, left heel sinks down to the mat. That changes everything. Raise that right heel up a little bit higher, feel the stretch on the back of the left leg. And then raise the right heel up a little higher still. Inhale, knee to nose plank. And then we're going to pop the foot between the two hands. for runner's lunge. Now, if you need blocks here for your hands, go ahead and find them. So if you're in your fingertips, raise the floor with blocks. Anytime you wish the floor was closer, using blocks. Make sure your feet are as far apart as you need them to be so you can drop the groin down, feeling that stretch. That back thigh is engaged, the back knee is engaged, so I don't let that knee get soft and droop down. I've got that leg engaged. I'm going to feel this amid that left leg as it gets pulled behind me. This pose should feel pretty splitty. Carefully smoothing out your breath cycle. Come all the way to the top, all the way down to the bottom. Maybe you pick your toes up and set them down in your version of one at a time. Dropping the back knee, flattening the foot. We're going to take this to a half splits. Walk your hands back and then try to bring your forearms down towards the ground. Pushing through the ball of the foot like you've got an imaginary gas pedal underneath that toe, and you're trying to bring the forearms down. That's going to give you the sensation on the back of that right leg. Chin is away from the chest. Don't let the head drop. So we want that nice flat upper back. Shifting forward again for Anjaneyasana, low lunge. Come up high onto the top of that left kneecap. So drag yourself till you feel the kneecap. Shift to the back of the mat. You're on the front edge of it. And then we're going to take the arms overhead. Now keeping the right knee hugging upright takes effort. Finding your balance takes effort. Taking the arms up and back bending means you're working for that breath cycle. Anger, frustration, hatred for me, all common emotions here. You should feel persecuted. Releasing the hands down. Here we're going to tuck the back toe, release the knee, finding runner's lunge. And then from here we're just going to straighten the right leg up. Now we're in lunge feet. Come high and to the left toe to push you further over the right leg. If you need blocks here, go ahead and grab them. This is a pyramid pose with lunge legs. So this is a deeper than normal pyramid. Notice how this pyramid is received by you. When you've received that pyramid, when you felt that, we're going to spiral that left foot down to the upper left corner of the mat. Bending into the right knee as you rise up, we'll find warrior one. The hips and shoulders are square up to the front of the room. Feeling that left leg drag behind you, push back into the pinky toe side of the left foot. The right toes are light. We're trying to rip the mat between the feet so the legs are activated here. How's your breath cycle? Slow it down, deepen it. Arms are nice and straight. Don't let the ballet arms get here. Inhale, straighten that right knee up. Exhale, folding down. Feel free to grab blocks on the way. Now we're in our pyramid pose with the proper feet. We've got pyramid legs. We've got pyramid pose. Chin's away from the chest. If I drop my chin, I could totally touch my nose to my knee, but I would lose my long, flat spine. So I care about my long, flat spine more than I care about getting my face to my leg. Now, if you need a block for this, go ahead and source it for underneath the left hand. The left hand's on the inside of the right foot. The right hand comes up to the sky. Keep the hips level. Don't let that right hip lift up. You should feel a bite on the outside of that right leg. Gaze might be up to that right thumb if your neck can take it. Pull your shoulders down away from the ears. Releasing the right hand back down, finding pyramid pose. We're going to raise the left arm up to the sky. Notice how this feels. This should feel a lot like Utthita Trikonasana triangle pose. Noticing the change to that position. And then we'll release the left hand back down. Walking both hands in front of that right foot. Feel free to use blocks for this, making an equilateral triangle with the right foot and hands, intensifying this in an extended pyramid. We're going to carefully spring this up into standing splits. So coming into standing splits, the gaze goes to that right shin, the left leg lifts up. Option here, you can release the right hand and take a hold of the left foot. Drawing that left knee up towards the sky is going to intensify the sensation of splitting. If you've tried that, when you release the foot back up to the sky, notice if that left leg feels like it can go a little higher now. Standing splits, releasing the left foot to meet the right. Forward fold. What do the two sides feel like in this forward fold? Inhale, arms come up, bend the knees, squeeze the buttocks, send the hips forward, arms overhead, standing back bend. How is your breath cycle here? Do not let it clench or hold. Keep it flowing. Keep the buttocks tight to protect the low back. We're going to inhale, power it up. Exhale, Yogi Squat all the way down. Now you can turn the toes out, take the feet wide off the mat if you'd like. You can look like Daffy Duck. There's nothing wrong with that. Whatever it takes to get the hips down. So everybody starts where they start. If this isn't pretty today, that's all right. Feel free to circle this around. Rock it back and forth, kind of open up those ankles a little bit. When you feel like you've gotten your Yogi Squat, we're going to make our way back to Plow Pose. So, on our way to Plow Pose, maybe there is a boat ride. It just builds control to try to find a little boat on the way. We're going to roll back to shoulder stand. Use your hands if necessary to lift your bottom up off the ground, finding the legs up in the sky. The weight is in the shoulders, not the neck. Don't let your gaze go to either side, looking to either side where neck injuries await you. Keep the gaze at the ceiling. Tilting the toes over your head. Be okay if they do not find the ground. We're cold still. This is still fresh in the practice. This might not go very far. We're just finding out how far we can get if we tilt the toes over our head. However far they get is however far they get. We're not going to judge that. We are going to send the legs back up. We're going to roll the spine down one vertebrae at a time. Maybe the momentum of the legs can pull you back up to squat. Maybe you need to use your hands to help you back up to squat. We'll catch up again in squat. So when you are in your squat at the top of the mat, whatever it took to get you there, we're going to plant the hands in Chaturanga position and take the feet to the back of the mat. That could be stepping back. It can be hopping back. When you run out of gas, you're out of gas. That's just the way of it. So finding the back of the mat with the feet has works for you. We'll catch up in plank. Lowering through Chaturanga. You can be on the knees, but the elbows touch the rib cage all the way down. Cobra or up dog at the bottom. Linger, open the chest. Only when you felt like your back is reset will you tuck the toes and find your downward facing dog. Other side. Left leg high. Knees and toes are square. Big toe turns in slightly. Right heel sinks down to the mat. Inhale the left heel up a little higher. Feel that stretch on the back of the right leg. And then up a little higher still, finding that stretch even deeper on the back of the right leg. Inhale, knee to nose plank. Exhale, pop the foot down between the two hands, finding your runner's lunge. Collarbones are broad, face is soft, chin is lifted away from the chest. Breathing here. Maybe you pick your left toes up and set them down one at a time. Keep the back knee engaged. The thigh is firm. This is keeping the knee from getting soft and dropping down towards the floor. From here, we're going to take this to a half split. So dropping the back knee, flattening the foot. Walk this back, forearms are coming towards the ground. Try to bring the forearms down. The chin is lifted. Don't try to sit this back. The forearms coming down is where we get the stretch on the back of the leg. Pushing through the imaginary gas pedal helps intensify this sensation. When you're ready, we're going to shift this forward into low lunge, Anjaneyasana, coming onto the top of the left kneecap. Take the arms overhead, trying to keep that left knee keeping upright, hugging upright. Don't let it drop open. With the back bend, how is your breath cycle? Don't let the breath clench or hold here. Carefully releasing the hands to the floor. We'll tuck the back toe, release the knee, finding that runner's lunge shape. And then we're going to straighten the leg into pyramid pose with lunge feet coming high into the right toe. Pushes you further over that left leg. Chin is lifted, collarbones are broad, face is soft. And then from here, we're going to spiral the right foot down so that the toes point to the upper right corner of the mat. Squaring the hips up to the front of the room. Tear the mat between the legs to activate the legs. Making sure that the left toes can be picked up and set back down. Push through the pinky toe side of the right foot in Warrior One. Arms are straight. No ballet arms here. Inhale as you straighten the left leg. Exhale, folding down into pyramid. Feel free to grab blocks on the way. Collarbones are broad, face is soft, my chin is away from my chest. I'm not dropping my nose to my knee. I'm keeping my chin up. Now, if you need a block here, go ahead and source it. We're going to take the right hand on the inside of the left foot. The left hand comes up to the sky. Collarbones are broad, face is soft. Keeping the hips level, feel the bite on the outside of that left leg in the twisted pyramid. And then let the left hand find the floor. The right hand comes up to the sky. This is going to feel an awful lot like Utthita Trikonasana triangle pose. Releasing both hands down to the top of the mat. We're going to walk the hands up into an equilateral triangle. Feel free to grab blocks for this. And then from here, we're going to spring this up into standing splits. That right leg reaches up, the gaze goes to the left leg. You can release the left hand for the right foot by bending the knee, and then draw that right knee up to the sky, intensifying the splitting sensation. When you've had enough of that, releasing that right foot back up to the sky, standing splits. Right foot meets the mat, forward fold, noticing the sensations of the two sides. We'll inhale, the arms come up. Taking a back bend, bend the knees, squeeze the buttocks forward, gaze comes over your head. Keep breathing here. Inhale, power it up. Exhale, Yogi Squat. Turning the toes out, drop the bottom down. Feel free to circle this around. Make this feel good to you here. When you've had enough, we're going to catch a boat ride, perhaps, on the way to Plow Pose. As you send the legs up, walking your hands up your bottom, tilting the toes overhead. This time the toes might find the ground. If the toes find the ground, you might walk your hands further up your back, trying to send your bottom over your face. You might try to bend your knees and try to bring the knees closer to the floor, the shins to the floor in a compression pose. You might be alternating, taking the legs straight and bent, finding out what feels good or what's available to you in this shape. We'll send the legs up when you're ready, rolling the spine down one at a time. When you come up to your Yogi Squat, it might be up with momentum. It might need your hands to help you get there. Planting the hands at the top of the mat, we're going to take the feet to the back of the mat. Hopping or stepping, Yogi's choice, lowering through Chaturanga. Again, elbows hug into the rib cage, whether you're on the toes or the knees. Cobra or up dog, reset your spine from that plow pose. Open the chest, gazes up. Only when you've had enough, send this back to child's pose at the back of the mat. Forehead finds the ground, seat to feet. Noticing the sensation of this child's pose compared to where we were when we started our practice. Maybe this child's pose feels a little different in the legs or the hips. This is a good place to get a drink if you need it. Anytime you need a break in your practice, finding child's pose until you're ready to rejoin the class. When you've had enough here, we're going to walk the hands off the mat over to the right, dropping the forehead down to the mat. Draw this body back to center line, feeling that left side stretch. Carefully releasing this, we'll walk this over to the left side, dropping the forehead down, and then taking that dynamic tension for the right side stretch. Bringing this back to center when you're ready, we'll reset again in child's pose. And then we'll come up into a tabletop. All right, we're going to take the right hand behind the head. Exhale the elbow down to the mat. Inhale, try to lift the elbow up to the sky. Exhale the elbow down to the mat. Inhale, try to lift the upper body. Exhale the elbow down. And then one more time, trying to stack those shoulders. Exhale, release. Left hand finds the back of the head. Inhale, exhale, touch the elbow. Exhale, inhale, bring it up. Exhale down to the floor. Inhale up. And then one more time. Exhale to the floor. Exhale, inhale, lift this up. Just frustrate yourself and then release. Walking the hands up on the mat slightly, we'll tuck our toes and find downward facing dog. As you get there, notice if you feel like you have a little bit more room in the shoulders. We'll inhale forward to plank and lower through Chaturanga. Again, cobra or up dog as long as you need it. Before you find your downward facing dog at the back of the mat, we'll catch up again there. Gaze to the top of the mat. Yogi's choice to get there, hopping or stepping. We're going to find forward fold. Hips forward, heart open, squeeze those buttocks, bend the knees. Standing back, bend all the way down to Yogi Squat. Same thing, back to Plow Pose again. Now, there's not been too many things we've done between the last Plow Pose and this one, so maybe, as you find your boat ride back to shoulder stand, that this Plow Pose feels deeper. Sending the legs up, roll the toes over your head, and again, investigate. Do you want to walk the hands up the back? Do you want to try to bend your knees? What feels good here as you find out the depth that you're available in the third Plow Pose? When you've had enough of plow, we'll send the legs back up, roll the spine down, and maybe you need to use your hands to find Yogi Squat. Maybe your feet just come off. When you find the top of the mat in your Yogi Squat, we'll take the hands to the top and the feet to the back. Plank, down to downward facing dog. Pedal out, turn the tailbone up to the sky. Notice how you feel here. And then we'll inhale the right leg up. Pointing the toe, opening the hip this time. Bend the knee. Press both hands and foot into the mat to send that right knee up as high as you can in your three-legged down dog. Finding a side plank here, coming forward, and the left hand stays down, left foot rolls onto the outer blade. We're going to step the right foot onto the long edge of the mat. The right arm comes up to the sky. Exhale the whole left side of the body down to the ground. Let the right hand find the inside of the knee. Inhale, push this all the way up, arch the ribs to the ceiling, and then we'll do it again, all the way down. Touch the right hand to the knee. Exhale, arching this up, lifting the ribs up, plant both hands, send the right leg high. Three-legged down dog. Exhale, step the right foot on the outside of the left hand, coming onto the inner blade of the left foot, fallen triangle prep. Inhale the left arm up. Exhale overhead, arching the ribcage up to the sky, fallen triangle. Planting both hands, send the right leg high, three-legged down dog. Exhale, step the right foot on the outside of the right hand. Active lizard lunge. All right, we're sinking in this active lizard. The back knee is lifted and strong. Do you want to stay on your hands? Do you want to come to forearms, maybe on blocks? Do you want to come to forearms on the floor? Drop the back knee, flatten the foot. Now we've released the active lizard. There's a lot less core work. Come onto the outer blade of the right foot. Catching your breath, soften your face. Shoulders are down away from the ears. Breathing deeply here as you get into that right hip. We're prepping ourselves for our standing hip openers. So when you're ready, we're going to push ourselves up into Warrior Two. Getting the right foot to the top of the mat, the left foot to the back of the mat. We'll get a nice right angle with that right knee, which will force you into a nice deep stance here. So you should feel pretty wobbly here. It's a deep lunge. Gazes over those right fingers. Body is upright. There's no lean forward in Warrior Warrior Two. We're going to inhale, straighten that right leg up, reach out over the leg for Utthita Trikonasana. Once you have that body in one plane of existence, sinking that right hand down until you get pulled flat. Feel the stretch on that left side. Gaze might be up to the left thumb. Bending into the right knee, plant the right hand on the block or the floor. The left arm is up. We're in a side angle now. Bringing this up to reverse warrior. Inhale up, flip open the right palm. Lean this back. Left hand travels to the back leg. Feeling that right side stretch. From here, we're going to straighten the right knee, Sky Archer. Exhale, cartwheel the hands down to the long edge of the mat, pivoting the toes to follow, slightly pigeon-toed stance. Inhale, exhale, wide leg forward fold. Now we want to make sure our hips are right over our feet. So we don't want to stick the bottom back behind us. It feels great. But if you need to, walk your hands, even if they're on blocks, off the mat if you need to, in order to keep the hips over the feet. We want to make sure we have weight even between all of the foot. Let's go ahead and plant both hands underneath your face. Take yourself high into the toes. Sink the heels down, lift the toes up. Ground through the four corners of the foot evenly, and then drop this back down. Does your wide leg forward fold feel different? Taking this to Skandasana at the top of the mat, we're going to walk the hands up to the right, toes point out, left toe finds the sky. Your hands can stay on the floor or they can find heart center. We want to keep that right heel down. Everybody starts with their hands on the floor, so if your hands are on the ground, that's all right. We're going to help this into pigeon. Carefully using your hands to push you up and away from the floor, we're going to get that right leg to a figure 7. So using any blocks, blankets, or props that you need underneath that right hip, get it set up so you can get the right knee to the right side of the mat, the right ankle to the left side of the mat, the left leg back behind you, and you can sit up tall. When you have that shape, we're going to fold over the leg. I'm taking a block with me for underneath my right elbow. This is optional. You don't have to take the block with you. I'm pushing my body to the left. So we're trying to push the left hip to the floor. That's where we get sensation in the right hip. If you're not feeling this, push it over to the left further. Flex the right ankle. Pull the shoulders down away from the ears. So flexing the ankle helps protect the hinge joint of the knee so that we feel this in the ball and socket of the hip and not the knee joint. How is your breath cycle here? Flowing it deep and full. Unclench the jaw. All right, we're going to bring this up and take this into a quad stretch. So walking this up, reach back for the left foot and bring the left foot into the buttock. If you can get that, push the hand into the foot and the foot into the hand to increase the dynamic tension so you feel a stretch. But if you're just barely pulling that leg up before it starts to try to cramp up on you, just be there. Feeling that quad stretch. When you've had enough quad stretch, we're going to carefully release this and set this up into head of cow with the right leg on top. So I'm going to sit up on blocks. You don't have to, but I advise it. Taking the right leg on top in this seated posture means that the left leg is going to be coming back to the right hip. And the right foot is going to be coming back to the left hip. So left leg on the bottom, right leg on the top. The feet come back towards the hips. The knees stack, maybe prettily, maybe not so much. When you have this, we're going to take a nice wide grip to the strap. Wider grip is harder. Wider grip is easier. Narrow grip is harder. Inhale up, exhale behind. Now, if your elbows are bending, widen your grip. If you don't feel this, narrow it. We're just breathing here, moving through this. You can move faster than me if you'd like. You can move slower than me if you'd like. What I care about is that we floss the shoulders some. Sit up tall. When I get the strap back behind me again, I'm going to release with one hand. Take it behind the head and take the strap in the other hand and pull it off to the side. So it's going to look like this. And the top arm is going to feel that stretch behind the head. Breathing. Being gentle. Switch this over. Letting the far hand release the strap, find it from the bottom and pull down as the gaze comes up. Using the top hand, pull the bottom arm up the back, let out any extra strap that you'd like. Pulling that arm straight above you sometimes helps pull the bottom arm higher up in between the shoulder blades. Releasing the top hand, the free hand becomes the bottom hand, the bottom hand becomes the top hand. So take that strap behind the head, find it from the bottom, pull down, gaze comes up, and we're in tricep number 2. Keep breathing. Use the top arm to pull the bottom arm up the back. Let out any extra strap that makes that accessible to you. Releasing this. If you're a strap roller, you can roll it up here. We're going to bring the shoulders up to the ears. Exhale, drop them down. Inhale, bring your shoulders up, squeeze them up. Exhale, drop them down. One more time, lock them all the way up to the back of the head or the neck, as tight as you can. A little bit tighter. Exhale, release. Coming down off of your props, I'm going to take blocks with me. So pull the blocks out from underneath your hips if you've got them there. We're going to fold over the legs. Now, I like to use some blocks to help me. So putting blocks down for your elbows, and that can be at any level, that helps you reach them, helps you fold over the legs. Feel free to try that. So adding some support for the upper body might make the lower body feel a little bit more trusting of you. Letting the feet go soft, that might help the thighs soften so that you can sink down on the exhales. Maybe you press the thighs away with the belly as you inhale and sink on the exhales, noticing those sensations. feeling this internal rotation. You're going to feel this across this right hip, thigh, buttock, maybe across the low back a little bit. How is that being received? When you've had enough of this, we're going to carefully help the legs apart. Be gentle. We'll catch up in downward facing dog. So if you need to send the right leg up, back, and behind in a three-legged down dog or puppy dog wiggles, whatever you need to do before you find down dog, we'll catch up again in down dog. Make this feel good to you. Once you find that down dog shape, noticing the sensations of it, we're going to take 3 pike push-ups here. So keeping the down dog shape, we're going to inhale, bend the elbows out, reach the crown of the head for the hands, and exhale, straighten the elbows. Inhale, bend the elbows, reach the crown down, exhale, straighten. 1 more pike push-up and bend the elbows out, exhale, straighten it up. Gaze to the top of the mat, yogi's choice to get there, hopping or stepping, forward fold. Inhale, heart open, squeeze the buttocks, bend the knees, standing back bend. This is the last one of the practice. Maybe this one's the deepest one yet. Inhale, power it up. Exhale, yogi squat, taking those feet nice and wide if they need to. Find your yogi squat position, and we'll take this back to plow pose. All right, this is the last plow pose of the practice. So as you send the hips up, tilting the toes overhead, do you want to take this deeper? Do you want to bend the knees? Do you want to walk your hands up your back and try to send your butt over your face? What feels like a good investigation for you? When you've had enough of this, we'll send the legs up, roll the spine down, and catch up again in our yogi squat. All right, we're going to take the feet to the back of the mat. Again, this can be stepping or hopping. Hands find chaturanga position. Feet catch up at the back of the mat. Lowering through chaturanga. This is the last one of the practice. Maybe it's the best one yet. Cobra or up dog at the bottom. Only when you've had enough of that, send the hips high and downward facing dog. Run the collarbones out, soften the face, turn the tailbone up to the sky. And then we'll send that left leg high, point the toe, open the hip, bend the knee, pressing hands and foot into the mat to send that knee up as high as you can. When you've had that, we're going to find side plank. The right hand's going to find the middle of the mat, coming onto that outer blade of the right foot. Step the left foot over to the long edge of the mat. Left arm up. Inhale, exhale, lower the whole right side down to the mat. Let the left hand find the inside of the knee. Inhale here, exhale, push this up towards the ceiling. Inhale, lower all the way down. Let the left hand find the inside of the right knee. Exhale, push this all the way up, arching the rib cage up. And then we'll plant both hands, send the left leg high. 3-legged down dog. Exhale, step the left foot on the outside of the right hand, coming onto the inner blade of the right foot. Fallen triangle prep. Take a couple breaths here. And then we'll inhale the right arm up. Exhale, overhead. Fallen triangle. Reach the rib cage up towards the sky. Planting both hands, send the left leg high. 3-legged down dog. Exhale, stepping the left foot on the outside of the left hand. Active lizard lunge. All right, do you need blocks? Do you want to use the blocks for underneath your elbows or your hands? Do you want to come down to the forearms on the ground? Do you want to come onto the outer blade of the foot? We're going to drop the back knee, flatten the foot, releasing the core work of the active lizard into the inactive lizard. So now you're feeling that deeper hip stretch. Maybe you're prepping yourself for those standing hip openers that we know are coming. Maybe rocking back and forth a little bit, getting into that left hip. Slow down your breath, chins away from the chest, shoulders are down away from the ears. When you feel ready to do it, we're going to use the hands to set up warrior two. Getting the feet right is key. So the feet are on a balance beam. The left toes point to the upper left corner of the mat. There's a 90-degree angle in that left knee, which really means that this is a nice deep lunge. You'll probably feel wobbly here. As we inhale, we'll straighten up the left knee, reaching out for Utthita Trikonasana. Once you have that side stretch, keeping the right side flat against the imaginary brick wall behind you, sink the left hand down, get that deepest triangle pose possible. Bending into the left knee again, keeping that left hand on the block or the floor, side angle. And then we're going to cartwheel back to reverse warrior. Keep that left knee bent. Right hand travels down the back leg. Side stretching. And then inhale as you straighten that left leg up into Sky Archer. Inhale, power it up. Exhale, all the way down. Taking this over to the long edge of the mat. Toes pivoting to follow. Inhale, long flat spine. Exhale, wide leg forward, fold. Again, make sure you're not sticking your bottom out behind you. We want that weight even between the balls and the heels of the feet. Take a couple breaths. Notice how this feels. And then plant both hands under the face. Turn the heels in so the toes point out. Bend the knees. Drop the bottom in line with the knees. Reach the arms for the long edge of the room. Inhale, power this up. Exhale, drop the arms open for Goddess Pose. Now we're going to tuck the tailbone underneath. So send the hips forward. That's going to make your knees want to roll in. So now you got to work extra hard to pull the knees out over the toes. At the same time, you're sending the butt forward, sending the groin forward. Inhale, straighten the arms and legs, reaching up high. Exhale, folding back down. As your hands find the ground, turn the toes back in into wide leg forward. Fold slightly, pigeon-toed, and then sink it down. How did Goddess Pose change your wide leg forward fold? When you've had enough, we're going to walk this up to Skandasana on the left. So I'm turning my left toes out. My right toes are finding the sky. Finding my balance on that left heel. Maybe the hands can leave the ground for heart center. Maybe they need to stay on the ground for the balance. Whatever works for you here will help Skandasana turn into Pigeon. Turning yourself to the top of the mat. Taking any props that your body needs underneath that left hip so that the left ankle finds the right side of the mat. The left knee finds the left side of the mat. When you have a backward figure 7 with the legs and you can sit up tall, you know you're propped right. And that means that we can fold down. Do you want to take a block with you for your left elbow? I'm using one to help push me over to the right. That's going to deepen that hip opening for my left hip. I have to think about pulling my shoulders down away from my ears. Otherwise, they slide up to the back of my neck. So I have to think about pulling them down. My chin is lifted. Smooth out the breath cycle. Soften the face. Just a little further here. Pressing the left hip down, maybe holding a little extra saliva in the mouth to increase the discomfort tolerance. We're going to help ourselves up from this and bring that right foot into the buttock for the quad stretch. Again, the quad stretch is only as deep as you can stand it. So if you're starting to get a Charlie horse from this, back off for a little bit. When you've had enough, carefully releasing this. Helping your legs apart, we're going to find head of cow with the left leg on top this time. So again, I'm going to sit up on blocks. You will not need your strap for this. We're going to stretch our necks. So left leg is on top. The feet come back by the hips. The knees stack, maybe prettily, maybe not so much. When you found this shape, we're going to drop the right ear over to the right shoulder, reach the left fingers for the floor, and the right hand finds the side of the head. Sit tall. Breathe as you lengthen the left side of the neck. And then releasing the head, letting the head rock. On the side, use the chin to turn up and down or look over the shoulder. Turn the left palm up. Take the left palm behind the back for the right hip. Bringing the gaze into the right armpit, let the right hand find the corner of the head. The elbow is heavy. Releasing to look over the two shoulders, reset this, and then we'll drop the right ear up, down, left ear down to the left shoulder, reaching the right fingers for the floor. The left hand finds the side of the head, the elbow is heavy, we're sitting tall, feeling the right side of the neck stretch. And then releasing the side of the head, letting the head rock on the left. Turn the chin up or down, look over the left shoulder. Turn the right palm upright. Take the right arm behind the back for the left hip. Bringing the gaze into the left armpit. Let the left hand find the corner of the head. The elbow is heavy. Releasing to look over the two shoulders, reset the neck. And then we'll drop the chin down to the chest. Interlacing the fingers for the back of the head, sitting tall through the spine and breathing into the belly as you feel the stretch between the shoulder blades. Releasing the fingers, let the head float up and all the way back, letting the mouth open and hang the way that it does. Using your shoulders to lift your head, drop the chin down to the chest, pick one direction and start rolling the head around. Just looking for anything you missed the first time you went through the neck. If you find something, stay on it and get it to release for you. The next time the chin comes all the way down to the bottom, pause and switch your direction. Does the second side have different answers than the first side did? Again, the next time the chin comes down to the bottom, we'll pause and lift the head back up. Coming down off of your props, ditch any blocks that you have, and I'm going to take mine with me for the fold. Again, this is completely optional, but I do seem to get a better fold over my legs by having my upper body supported. Does that have a similar answer for you? Maybe you try it out. If you don't like it, you don't need the blocks, but if it turns out it helps, well, then it turns out it helps. Blocks can help you get stretchier faster by helping your body trust you. Does the belly press into the top thigh, giving you space to sink on the exhales? How does this pose work for you? Carefully helping this up and apart. Be gentle as you separate those legs. Give your kneecaps some love if they need it. We're going to send the legs out to the end of the mat here. All right. So our legs are at the end of the mat. We're going to take a nice long flat spine, pull the toes back by the face, and fold down. How close can you get to your thighs? My chin's lifted. If you need to, take finger guns and measure. Make sure your chin stays lifted. How close can you get? Let's see if we can change that answer. Inhale, walk this up. We're going to take the feet to the corners of the mat. Just to the corners. Long flat spine. Inhale. Exhale, folding down. Again, chin's lifted away from the chest. Collarbones are broad. How close are you getting between your thighs? Okay, we're going to carefully help this up. We're going to take the legs wide this time. Maybe not to the widest possible, so I'm not trying to force my legs out as wide as they go, but they're pretty wide. I'm going to sit up. The toes and knees are flexed and pointed to the ceiling. Folding down again. Again, my chin is lifted. If you need to take those finger guns underneath your chin to make sure your chin doesn't drop down, make sure your chin doesn't drop down. The head is a heavy ballast at the end of a long flat spine. We're going to walk this back up. Use your hands to help. Bring the feet to the corners of the mat again. All right, long flat spine, legs flexed, toes lifted, folding down. Do you feel like you got further down in your forward fold? Does any of this seem like it's similar to the plow poses we were doing with the chest and the thighs coming closer? Walking this back up from here, we're going to bring the feet together and find forward fold. As you fold this down, notice how the sensations of the pose are being received. How deep are you getting? Does this one feel deeper than the first one? Carefully release this. We're going to walk our body up. Now you're going to want to block, so make sure you know where that is or that you can reach it as you lower this down to your back. All right, when you get all the way to your back, we're going to bend the knees and bring the feet up close to the buttocks. The feet are in line with the hips. Inhale, squeeze the buttocks, lift the hips up towards the sky. Now I want the knees and hips in alignment with the feet, so don't let your knees drop out. Don't squeeze them in to touch. So the hips and knees are in line with one another. Squeeze the buttocks, send the hips up as high as you can, and then release the buttocks, making the low back do the work. Squeeze the buttocks up, and then release the buttocks, make the low back do the work. Now squeeze the buttocks up and walk your feet together, coming onto the outer blades of the feet, letting the knees drop open. So we're in a butterfly shape, but the hips are lifted in a bridge. Squeeze the buttocks up to the ceiling Exhale, release the buttocks, make your low back hold the hips up. Squeeze the buttocks up to the ceiling. Exhale, release the buttocks, make the low back hold them up. Now squeeze the buttocks and pulse the buttocks up. So your knees are going to start to butterfly a little bit as you pulse the hips up, using the squeeze of the buttocks to pulse this up. So you're pulsing. Don't stop breathing while you're pulsing. Pause, squeeze it up as tight as you can. Walk the feet back flat on the floor, bringing the knees back up to the ceiling, and roll this down one vertebrae at a time. When you get your spine all the way down to the ground, grab your block and tuck it underneath the tailbone. Just underneath the tailbone, not up by the waistband, down low. Extend the legs long. Here we go. We're going to settle into corpse pose from here. So, now we're laying on the block. You're waiting for the block to feel like you're laying flat. It differs for everybody. How long do you need to be on this block until you don't feel the block? Is there a tummy sensation associated with that for you? Do you feel a dropping or heavy sensation as the intestines fall away from the wall of the abdominals? Or maybe you feel your internal organs slide up inside of you because of the inversion, the hips being higher than the heart. Maybe you feel your digestion start up again. What do you notice that makes you know that you feel like you're laying flat, that you don't have a block underneath you? It differs for every practice, and it differs for every person. So only when you feel ready to pull the block out will you pull the block out. Setting up a true corpse pose by walking your shoulder blades down your back so that the palms can face the ceiling. The hands won't be right next to you. They'll be off the hips a little bit. Letting the shoulders press flat. Let any remaining tension of the shoulders run down the arms and out of the fingers. Surrender any tension of the buttocks to out of the legs and out of the toes. Let the spine get heavy to the floor. Surrender your breath cycle from those deep, full breath cycles of class back to the shallow or passive breath of your daily life. Hold your mind here in the present moment, reminding yourself that there's nothing left to do, that no one needs anything from you, that there's no one that you need to be. This is only yoga. Wiggling fingers and toes slowly, bringing energy back into your body. Notice how you feel now. Compare this to the answers from the beginning of class. Drawing the arms overhead high, squeezing everything in tight in that morning stretch, then bringing your knees to your chest for a hug, thanking yourself for practicing, and rolling over to your favorite side for transition and rebirth. As you feel ready, we'll push ourselves to seated, crossing the legs and stacking the bones of the spine. Inhaling the arms high overhead, allow the palms to touch. Exhale them down to heart center. Thank you for sharing your practice with me. My blessing upon you. We are complete.